Avoir.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Are those real duck feathers on your desk? It just gets worse every day.
It's not that bad. It's just
It does. You bought pigeon feed.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato, and I am the host of the show. Today, I am joined by my spouse, Laurie.
Hello.
And we are just going to do a little bit of decompressing. Been a couple of weeks since we have done a podcast episode, so thank you so much for sticking with us and tuning in. If you are into what you're hearing, if you've resonated with any of the episodes you've heard over the years, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. It helps more people listen to the show. The two of us are dog trainers. I primarily am a dog walker. Laurie does dog training full-time. We teach private lessons, we teach group lessons, and we are also involved in a variety of different dog sports and activities with our own personal dogs, of which we have 3. And if you've been listening for any length of time, their names are Raven, Reuben, and Buddha. So if we reference our own dogs, that's who we are talking about. And if you're brand new, welcome. Thank you for spending your time with us. I very much appreciate it. Laurie, what's been going on?
Just been working a lot.
Yeah.
Just hanging out with other people's dogs, training them. We've had a lot of puppies lately.
A lot of Labrador puppies.
Yep. Really nice. It's a nice change. I feel like we've had a lot of different breeds.
Mm-hmm.
I had an English Shepherd the other day. By different breeds, I mean not doodles.
Right.
Because we had a lot of those. So who did I have? English Shepherd, a lot of mutts, a couple hound mixes. So a mini poodle who was, I swear to God, just catching flies the whole class. I'm like, slow down. Yeah, it's a lot of mutts.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
The more advanced classes that I've been teaching and a couple of new clients have been golden retrievers. I've been on a golden retriever kick. In my off-leash healing class, we have, I think, 4. And then I have been doing private lessons with a golden that I work with and her owner. I have a new client that has a golden.
I have a golden that just came in.
Lots
really
of Goldens.
Sweet. This one's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I meet very hyperactive ones lately.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is good, run-of-the-mill, sweet temperament. She's smart.
She's the only female in our harem of golden retrievers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think that all
of the other
she is.
ones They're all
males.
boys.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Running the keg at the party is what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of excitement and a lot of problems when the dogs are on the leash, which maybe we can talk a little bit about to kick off the podcast.
Leashes are the devil.
Why do you say that?
Because it causes just so many problems between the owner and the dog and the pulling and the yanking and the holding a dog back, and just takes away the natural part of life. But it is what it is. We always have dogs on leash. I think it makes them more reactive.
Mm-hmm. I would say that walking your dog on a loose leash is probably the hardest thing for anybody, whether you're a dog trainer or an owner. I think it's the hardest thing for anybody to achieve.
Yep.
Out of all the crazy behaviors that we are able to teach our dogs, teaching them to walk on a loose leash can be extremely frustrating and very challenging. So, if your dog pulls on the leash, we feel you. It's not a terribly complicated problem to fix, but it requires a lot of skill and handling and understanding of what the leash is communicating to your dog. And I have done private lessons with a client that has been with us for, how old is Stanley? 4, 5?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be lying.
And we had our first walk on Wednesday morning. I've been doing classes with the owner on Wednesday mornings. We had our first walk, and she walked that dog absolutely beautiful.
I mean, it's definitely been a year.
It was
that Stanley's been with us.
Oh my God, Laurie, he did classes with us at Crate Escape. That was in 2020.
Oh, that's okay. There's a couple Stanleys.
But it's challenging, and I was doing a consult with somebody and trying to explain I can take the dog and walk the dog and make the dog look great, or Laurie can, but it's really not that great if the owner can't achieve the same results.
And why is that? Because the dog has so many established habits with their owner. And then here comes this person, whether it's a trainer or whoever, clean slate. Your timing is much better than their parents. You have better treats. You're better prepared. You're not holding the leash you're not white knuckling it. Because sometimes the tighter you hold the leash, the more the dog wants to pull away. You don't move when the dog pulls. Maybe you'll move backwards, but like even if you're just standing there, you just stand there. Parents, when they come in and they want a dog, they say that their dog pulls them. Parents never stand still. The first thing I tell parents is be the pole, stand still, because every time this dog hits the end of the leash, they're traveling with the dog at least 10 steps forward. If just leave a parent alone when they first walk into the room and watch where they end up. They're on the other side of the friggin' world. You're like, where are you? How did you get there? Because the dog dragged them there the whole time. Right. Sometimes you just standing there makes the dog plant their ass, and that's that. And I won't feed them for that.
Right.
Just shut up and sit down. And a lot of things that have been working lately, too, is I think it started with this young girl who was she was 13, so old enough to know. And she was getting really sassy in class, and she's kind of talking back to her parents. This was a couple of years ago. And I didn't like that because I don't like when kids disrespect their parents because that's not how we grew up. And, Mama Rose, big part of our lives, and Dad, I couldn't imagine. So I knew that she was a pretty good handler. But she started messing around, and we were over at the pond. And I said, listen to me. I'm going to drop the leash. You're going to drop the leash. And I said, if you don't pay attention to your dog and you don't stay engaged, he's going to run out into the street and he's going to get hit by a car. I said, so hop to it. And I wouldn't let her pick up the leash because I knew that dog wasn't going to go anywhere. And she was a really good handler. But I just didn't like the way she was acting. And it was rude. This is why I need a vacation. But when I drop the leash sometimes on parents in a safe place, guys, and sometimes I'll use a really long line. I'll use a 15-foot line. This has been working, and it kind of stemmed from this young girl. I take the line, I walk way far back, and I said to the parent, just stay engaged. And I feel like when parents drop the leash, they're more engaged with their dog, and they're scared shitless that they're going to run for their life.
Sorry, that was me. So
I'm telling you, dropping that leash makes the parent more engaged. And, of course, if the dog's looking up, I always want you to click and feed that really nice look up. But it's more important these days that the dog just sticks with their parent.
Sure.
So I've kind of cut back on a lot of... I don't think I've lowered my expectations. I'm just approaching it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
With some dogs, it's just better if they're just moving with the parent because, sometimes parents will start working on sits when they're walking and the dog will start sitting. So the parent is continuing forward and they go, oh, nice sit. And then they run back and feed the dog. And so the dog just starts sitting in the middle of the walk. They're like, the dog sits all the time. Do you know why? I said, well, because the dog finds that very reinforcing. You're sitting, they sit, and then you give them food. Then they walk a little bit more. They just think it's part of the routine.
Right.
And if it pays out, why not do it?
Yeah, I've been fading most of the food in the off-leash heel class that I've been teaching, where we do a lot of teaching. So teach the position, and then it's just all the leash. We just work with the leash, and then we drop the leash. If the dog's on the e-collar, use e-collar to reinforce, and the results have been really, really cool. And I've been taking dogs. The groups are really small, so we've been actually getting out into the woods off leash. I usually bring Raven. It's been really fun to see the progress. And once the expectations are set and the owner understands what they should be looking for and what they should expect from their dog, and once the dog understands the behavior, it really does become clear and the light bulb comes on, and it's really fun to watch. But again, teaching loose leash walking or off leash heeling, it's very, very challenging. So if you're struggling, we get it. But it is achievable. So keep at it and find some good instruction if you don't have it already. But I really wanted to share this story. I thought we could maybe riff on this a little bit, Laurie.
Riff. Okay.
So, well, first of all, I kind of wanted to address this for any pet parents that might be listening. But I think both of us have a healthy fear of dogs when we see them in public and we don't know the dog. So, Laurie, like, let's take this example. Let's say you and Boot are at the field and you're playing and somebody shows up with a Rottweiler.
I leash him up and leave.
Let's back up. Okay. What are your feelings? How do you
what are my feelings?
Yeah, like where does your brain go? And then what do you do? What decisions do you make?
I told you just then. I don't even have to think about it. Here comes somebody with a dog. I go to my car and I leave.
Okay. So yeah, I
did you want me to say?
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, like I was just thinking yesterday about when I have dogs, whether my own or my clients, and we're out in public and I see another dog. And my immediate reaction is to get away from the other dog to create space, because I don't care if the dog is a Labrador or a pit bull. I want to make sure that my guys are safe and they're not running up on the other dog. And I'm just kind of doing like a threat assessment and figuring out like, how do I get around this person and their dog and what's going to be the best scenario. And that's the opposite of what other people do, right? Somebody's walking and they have their kid in the stroller and they see you walking the dog. What's the first thing that the parent says to the kid? Oh, you see the doggy?
Yeah.
Right? They just immediately train kids to pay attention to dogs and to like move forward towards the dogs, whether they know you or not.
Stick your hand out.
Yeah.
Put your little mitt out there.
Yeah. And for someone who works with dogs, we have the exact opposite reaction when we see a strange dog that we don't know. And I would implore you, if you're listening and you are a pet parent, maybe you have a friendly dog, start being more observant of dogs that you see off the leash and do your best to create some space. And if you have to interact because it's just going to happen anyway, like totally get that. It happens to me all the time. But again, like I'm trying to do like a threat assessment. I don't get like really nervous. I don't let that energy flow because I don't want my dogs to become nervous, but I do my best to just make some space. So there is this piece of woods that I walk the dogs frequently in, and maybe about 4 years ago I used to see a dog in there a lot. She is a like Cane Corso or Neapolitan Mastiff, not a huge dog, maybe like 70 pounds, brindle, cropped ears, looks scary. And I just remember walking, I told you this one day, and all of a sudden, and she's sneaky, quiet, treads like very lightly, right?
She's stealth.
Yeah. And I remember one day I was walking with a couple dogs, and all of a sudden she was right next to me, like on my left side, looking up at me. And when I say I almost pooped my pants, like I almost pooped my pants. I was afraid. I was like, okay. And I just was like, all right, go on now. Get out of here.
Go on now. Go on now. Skittle that. Skittle that.
So her owner is like, he's a Russian dude or Slavic or something like that. I don't know exactly what language he speaks, but doesn't speak much English. And doesn't engage with her very much. She has a really high pack drive, so she's very close to him all the time. She's usually out in front of him a little bit. And now she's quite old. She has like a white muzzle. And I hadn't seen this dog for like years. And maybe about 6 months or so ago, she started to resurface. And this dog does not care about other dogs. Like she can walk with her owner past my dogs if we're on the side, or if I'm walking a distance away, we cross each other. Does not care about my dogs at all. Like doesn't even give them a second glance. She just trots along. Owner never says hi to me. He usually just waves. He usually has headphones in. A lot of the times he's talking on the phone. I see them all the time. Mm. I've also seen this dog when she's walking get run up on by other dogs. not in my pack. And she will put them in their place right quick. Like quick, vicious, and then move along.
What do you mean, like a lot of spit? Blah, blah.
No, like she goes at them. Like if a happy-go-lucky dog runs up to her, there is like snarling, and I haven't seen anything because I haven't really been that close to look, but
it was a fun sponge move.
It was a fun sponge move, and I have seen a huge reduction in the amount of off-leash dogs and dog walkers in this space since she has come back around. Because the owner, he doesn't really care. He just like keeps walking. You know, there's like, his dog really didn't do anything wrong, right? Minding her own business. Some random dog runs up to her. Wow, wow, wow. Dog goes away. They just keep moving. He doesn't speak much English. He's like a 6-foot tall Russian dude. Like, I'm not going to get
Who's going to mess with him?
Argument with him.
I don't look at a 6-foot Russian dude and be like, today's the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Today's the day. No.
Exactly. But I think that dogs like that are a hard lesson to learn from, but at the same time, kind of a good lesson to learn from.
Yeah, because she doesn't, bring it to putting a bunch of holes in them. She just scares the shit out of them.
Right, but she also doesn't mess with anybody. It's
right.
not like she's running up to other dogs causing a fight.
That's so rare, though. Like, when... Mm-hmm. So you give me the scenario of we're in a field. I got nowhere to go. I'm not in the woods. Otherwise, I would hightail it out of there. And I'm way less worried when I have other people's dogs rather than Buddha. You named Buddha. Because I don't know what it is. It's Buddha. I can't.
Because you're nervous that he's going to.
He's going to react, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I have other people's dogs, they just don't have that level of chutzpah.
Right.
Because he won't start it. But if another dog starts it, I'm worried about what would happen. But like I said, I'm walking with other people's dogs, not a worry in the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't worry when I see this dog. I really honestly don't, because I know that I know that my dogs aren't going to run up to her. Actually, the dude was walking with his dad one day, and we pulled over, and I kind of had a conversation with the dad, and she just laid down. But I know that if one of my 4 were to run up to her, there'd be a huge problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It would be so nice if every dog just ignored. Because I could just walk along. Mm-hmm. With Buddha, he just wouldn't care. But when these dogs run up on him, I'm like, oh, I hope it's a girl. Like, I hope it's a girl dog. I'm not going to have a problem then. But if it's a boy dog and they come all stupid racing up, it's too much.
Yeah. I know, it's tough.
And who wants the liability, really?
It's tough.
Yeah. The Rottweiler gets blamed, so.
Yep. You could just pretend like you don't speak English.
Oh, my God.
And put headphones in and just keep walking like this dude.
Yeah, and I could pull off weird. I could make myself so weird that nobody walks up to me.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty standoffish, I feel like, when we're out in public.
I am. I just keep my head down and keep on walking.
Yeah, I'm more friendly. But
I mean...
by friendly, I mean I'll say hello.
I'm kind of lamenting over the fact that I decided not to do therapy work with Buddha anymore.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that, you think?
Yeah, I was... Well, I don't know. I mean, I said goodbye to the places, all but one. I still have to contact the middle school and let them know that I won't be doing visits anymore. But so I volunteer for TDI, Therapy Dogs International, and they are one of the few therapy dog organizations that do not insure their dog handler teams. Other dog therapy organizations do. Now, for one reason or another, TDI stopped doing it, and I was confronted with having to get insurance for Buddha, specifically for these therapy dog visits. And I started to look at various places that would cover like a personal liability insurance for my dog. And this is what kind of was the beginning of me saying, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore.
Right.
And then there were other things. I see Buddha coming into himself a little bit more. He's 6 years old. sometimes I wondered if I was enjoying going to my therapy dog visits, or I had found them to be a little tedious. Not because I don't love the kids or the parents. And I learned so much. And I honestly think that it was so valuable for me to do these visits because I've just learned how to work around kids more. I feel like I understood parents a little bit more. There's no way I want to raise a kid, but I felt like I could see where they were coming from in certain situations and how uncontrollable a kid could be, or how loud, or, Buddha's been around it all, but I found him to be a little less tolerant of the visits, or kind of checking out before the visit was over.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was asking myself, is this really happening, or are you just saying these things because you're in this position now where you have to consider getting your own insurance? And I'm like, no, this is happening.
Right.
I just see Buddha changing. He's changing a little bit. When I see him kind of being a Rottweiler, as a Rottweiler is. And I think that that's what led to my choice of not doing it, and him just kind of checking out of the visit well before the visit ends.
Right.
Like 20 minutes is enough for him. And that's just not how, they're at least a half hour. And I don't want to be worrying.
Right.
I kind of was like, how long are you going to, I think we've tested it enough now. Like, I think we're okay. And like I said, if he was a different breed or a different kind of dog, maybe, I thought we'd end it. I thought he'd be old and gray, when we end therapy visits, and there would be this, fanfare for Buddha, like, oh, the therapy dog. But I'm not feeling that way anymore.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to go, and it's a little sad, but I'll figure it out. And like I said, I still have to contact the middle school. But yeah, I think that's the end of an era there. And as far as Buddha goes, I'll keep working towards utility. We're actually not even bad with utility, so those articles are going to be the end of me.
No, they are not going to be the end of you. You have to think positive.
And I'll be able to dedicate more time to Buddha, because that's literally all we'll be working on. And the summertime is really busy for us. So now it's winding down, and I feel like both of us can breathe a little bit again. So.
Yeah, I have some trials in the books, and Laurie's been working really hard on getting the utility exercises done, which are really challenging.
I'm not practicing enough.
Pretty fun, but it's definitely just a high level of tasking, really. Yeah. The dogs need to learn how to do, and I should be working on that with Raven, even though we're not there yet. We're on the level below utility, which is open, and we are going to start trialing pretty heavily in that coming up. So
yeah, you have a lot going on.
Please send your prayers to Leah and Raven. She can do all the things, but as we all know, if you trial your dog, you show up to trial day and anything can happen. So.
And you have to do all the things.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to do all the things right. Not just some of them.
Yeah. So I'm in no rush.
Yeah, that's good. I
got nothing left. I got some utility. That's it. I don't really, maybe some scent work, but all of a sudden this pressure is off. And
it's sad because I know how much you love being like out in the community. It's been fun, I think, to like meet new people and, like you said, get to know some of the parents and the teachers. I know we've had a lot of clients come from those type of events and those visits. And ultimately, I know how loving he is. He really does have the qualities of a therapy dog. Like, you can pet him. You can literally like just sit there and he enjoys being pet. He really does. And that's the MO of a therapy dog. He will be close to you. He'll lean into you. He'll pet you. He'll let strangers pet him. But at the same time, like, respecting his breed and respecting the dog going into this like wildly stimulating and unpredictable environment is, you have to be wise about it too, which I think that you are being very wise.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he's been a little more selective. Like, of course, for us, but I just see some more selective behavior in him. And yeah, it shouldn't be stressful. And I just like making a difference. I felt like, oh, how can I make a difference? And it was great because I was making a difference, but also fading into the background because it was just Buddha. You know, I was just his Uber. and I liked that because I felt like, oh, I'm making a change. I'm making a difference. Because I think when you get older, you always think, you know, how can I help? What can I do? How can I make a difference? And that's fine. It's just a new chapter, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
And I, you know, when I was competing, I mean, it was like nonstop. So, like I said, I think this is a new phase and I'll just focus on utility and maybe scent work, but I think I'm going to have a little bit more fun without feeling such pressure.
Yeah, that's good. I know I kind of went through a little bit of that when I decided to do the Toss and Fetch League because I kind of look at that as a service because I don't make money off of it. It is something that I do for purely for fun. Like I enjoy it. So it's not like truly service, right? Like I'm out there with my dogs, like having fun. But when I talked to Megan, the property owner, she had mentioned it to me like years ago that it could be an option for, you know, using that space that she had for dogs. And I just like wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to spend time during the week where I wasn't making money or it wasn't like furthering my career or, like taking away from my dog walking schedule and stuff like that. And then last year, like we talked about it and I was like, you know what, I'm ready to do this. Like, I know that it's not the same as working in rescue. I know it's not the same as like giving away free service, but that's how I view it. And I try to make that an environment where new people can come and learn and, you know, learn from the people that are there and from me. And I really enjoy doing that at the same time. So I don't think service always has to look like you're volunteering at a soup kitchen.
Right.
You know, it's like there's different ways to be of service to the community. And I know for me personally, I've never spent a significant amount of time in rescue. And that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, just being able to work with, you know, dogs that are, you know, might never get placed in a home. And I think it would be good for me as a trainer, but also, again, like another way that I can kind of give back because I feel like once you're established and like, okay, I know that I'm always going to have the dog walking business to keep me like as busy as I want to be. I feel like I can be a little bit more selective about like furthering my education and helping and volunteering a little bit more of my time because so much of my adult life was just like, especially right before you met me, Laurie, like I was working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
And I was just constantly focused on money. You know, like how can I make...
Yeah, trying to hustle.
Yeah, how can I make as much money, save as much money, get myself into a better living situation. And right now, like that's obviously still a huge focus, but it is nice to be able to think about these other things. Like for you, the therapy dog stuff, and for me, like different types of things. Because I personally don't ever think I would be comfortable with a therapy dog environment. Like it, you've been with me when I've been to
Leah hates it.
Oh my God, it's so stressful, you guys. Like, holy cow. It's just like, so it's very chaotic and people are literally, because when they see that red scarf on the dog, they know it's a therapy dog. So like when we went to that event in Tewksbury years ago, like there's just kids running up to the dogs with cotton candy and toys and screaming and strollers and can I pet your dog? And it was just like a never-ending stream of like it was like a carnival almost.
Yeah, flying toys is a good time when the kids come running up to you and they're actually wearing a toy on their head. And you're like, well, I guess we're gonna see how this one goes. You know, it's just okay.
I get very nervous at those therapy dog.
I know Leah is no good at therapy dog visits. Nope, the whole time she'll get in the car. Woo! Oh, that was a lot. I said, I know there are a lot you're exhausted after, and the dog is passed out. All of our dogs. I mean, we'll show pictures of all of our dogs after our visits at night on Instagram or social media, and the dogs are just passed out.
Yep.
But as far as like being in the dog world and volunteering for things, you mentioned Frisbee, and that's a whole community. I'm in the chat I don't compete in Frisbee, but I'm in the chat.
Well, I
mean,
made Laurie compete in Frisbee the first season that
I
we
just wanted to
competed
die.
because I didn't have enough people.
I'm like, there he goes with the Frisbee. I mean, okay. The showboating was astounding. But the group is just full of love. These people all supporting each other. I mean, and that's how we meet people in the dog world. And, you know, like, I love that you get to see Jamie every week and Melissa. And I think it's Catherine. I love to see all these people and you share ideas and you learn different ways of training, no matter how smart you think you are or how long you've been doing it. Hey, did you try this? Hey, did you try that? You know, Jamie has her GRC get-togethers. You needed help on long sits and downs. So at the end of Frisbee practice, everybody did a long sitting down with their dog in the middle of a field. I mean, if your dog can deal with those distractions, they can do anything. Really respectful people that, you know, are fair to the dogs and following the rules.
There's
great.
like also an element of collaboration. Like, for example, we have a team that's brand new, and one of our clients has an Australian Coolie, and she is a absolutely brilliant dog. She has tons of talent and drive, and she's wicked smart. And she's really good at catching the Frisbee, and her owner, Jonathan, is really good at throwing the Frisbee, but on the retrieve, they were having a really hard time outing the Frisbee. And I had worked with Jonathan a little bit, and when Temple's with us, I play with her, and in the yard, it's a pretty short distance, and I didn't have a hard time getting her to out, but he was having a really hard time. And so we met, and Jamie started to kind of give him tips and help him out. And we were texting a couple weeks ago, and he said, well, let's get together and work on this. And I was like, no. I'm like, what we're doing is not working. Like, please go to Jamie and work with her and just do what she says. And he did, and it freaking worked. And last week they had one of their best rounds because he was having such a hard time previously getting Temple to out the toy that like he was wasting his time during his round, and 60 seconds goes by right quick. And yeah, that was all them, because do I know how to teach a dog how to out? Yes, I do. But sometimes somebody else might have a better approach, might connect with the client a little bit more. And I am not afraid to say what we're doing is not working. Like, try something else. And if anything, all of us learn from that situation. Like, I learned from Jamie, Jonathan learns from Jamie, and it just gives me another tool in my toolkit. And maybe it was a communication issue. Maybe it was a technical issue. You know, it's just, to me, it's really not about my ego and trying to get the best results. Like, I don't care. Like, just get it done. You know, and
yeah, I mean, I was psyched because he worked with Jamie and he got it.
Yep.
So what we were doing wasn't working, but we were able to find somebody to get the job done.
Sure.
And Jamie did it, and it's awesome.
Yep.
And she's great with her dogs. I love seeing her work with her dogs.
Yeah, it was fun. I got to go to GRC practice last week. Raven and I are certainly not working on any specific GRC sports, but I just need to work with Raven in that particular space, because every time I bring Raven to that field, she goes hog wild. There's like no rules in Frisbee. It's like catch, 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 catch. And healing to and from on the field is out of control with Raven, getting her there. Not so much getting her back to the car, but the anticipation of the round is like overwhelming. So I've been thinking about ways to get her onto the Frisbee field, maybe even work with the Frisbee next time if we do go to one of her practices again, just to change the routine up a little bit, because ultimately when I'm there to play Frisbee, I want to score as many points as possible. I don't care about healing to the line, but it is important to me that eventually she can heal up to the line and be under control. So I got to go to Jamie's practice. That was super fun. Worked on some obedience, got to meet some really cool dogs and handlers. I have to say, like, everybody just did so well with their dogs. Just the engagement was really high. The dogs were in it. They were enjoying themselves. They were doing weight pull, which is not something that I do at all. So the dogs, like in the second part of class, wear the weight pull harnesses and run up hills and stuff like that. And I just had Raven on a place board, and was taking pictures for everybody, and that was like super fun. So yeah, just like being exposed to different people, different stuff, like a lot of bully breeds. I don't have a bully breed. Obviously I have a friendly Labrador, but it was just great, to see people training in a different style and getting results and in a safe space, like the field is great because it's not public.
Yeah, it's very controlled.
You don't have random people kind of running into the situation, which is unheard of. So yeah, it's been like really, really fun to be a little bit more involved. And I wouldn't if I didn't just say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. Don't know where it's going to go, but it's gone nowhere but good places. So I've been stoked about that.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And then the twins, I know you're listening. They came, they were able to groom their dog. So it's like I could do that for them. And I like to, if I can give, I like to give.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, use the tub, no problem, whatever.
Yep.
And the other thing you mentioned about having her behave in the field, that's probably why every time I go to the field, I don't let Buddha just go hog wild out in the field, because I don't want him to see a field and think this is my time to party.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're getting ready for the BH, I make sure like we do a lot of healing in the field too, as well as play. But I can't let him go there and just start winging it. So it's nice that when Raven goes there, she's like, oh, I do obedience here too. It's not just all about catching a Frisbee and coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with Buddha, I'm like, this is just too much. Like the drive was too high, the craziness. I remember when I threw that first Frisbee and he just ran away, and I'm like, what the? He was just like parading around, and I was like, I'm not doing this shit with that. I mean, I could have put a line on him and then reeled him back in, but I was like, no, we're not doing this.
You guys had some pretty good rounds though. I remember. You had a few 10-pointers, double digits.
Yeah, right. Once I played Frisbee once, probably if your spouse is into something, depending on what it is, you should just check it out. Because then you can understand them a little bit more when they come home. But I will say this. Leah would come home and she would say, this is in the very beginning. Now Leah's, up in the 20s, over the 20s, whatever. Oh, I only got 18 points today. After I played Frisbee with Buddha, I was like, oh my God, I got 5 points today. 5.5. What a day. And she's like, I only got 18 points. And I'm like, okay. So I can at least help put Leah in perspective.
Yeah.
And be like, honey, I think 28 points is just great. So now it's like a joke. Every time she's leaving to go to Frisbee, I'm like, no win, no whammies. Don't come home if you score under 20 points. That's why I like that Al goes. Yep. So Catherine and Al started throwing for Piper. Catherine throws for Finn. And now they're two little psycho Frisbee players.
Yes.
And they can bond over that.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun to have couples day.
Yeah, we have stay together.
Couples. We have two couples that play because they have 2 dogs. And even if you didn't have 2 dogs, you could still play.
Who? Catherine and Alan.
And Julia and Ben.
Oh, that's right.
And Ben plays disc golf. So he has like impeccable form.
Oh.
Yeah. He can,
like a ballerina.
Yeah, he has a nice throw. I need to take lessons from him.
Really?
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Have a date with Ben.
That's on my list for September.
And the music can be some Taylor Swift background music.
Frisbee is a tough sport because I meet a lot of dogs. When I say a lot of dogs, I mean like 1 in 3 dogs that I meet for class, and I think this dog could play Frisbee. But it's one of those things that is so handler centric. Like, if you can't throw that thing, your dog is not going to be able to catch it. And there's so much pressure when you're throwing.
The timer.
Yeah, and people they cannot handle it. It's like they can't handle, because it's like playing pool with animals. It's like that same amount of like concentration that you have to like shoot pool or go bowling or play golf. Then you have like a dog barking in your face when you have to do it.
The timer is too much for me. 5, 4, 3. And they're like, come here, Mitzi. Come here. Come and bring the Frisbee. And I'm like, get the throw in. And Leah's like, you did a really good round. I'm like, I don't remember anything that happened.
Yeah. It's hard. It really honestly is. It's not an easy sport at all. And it's hard too because I don't mean to talk shit about Frisbee as a sport in general, but there is not a focus in most scenarios on like obedience, because it's just such a drive sport that the dogs sometimes aren't very well trained, I'll say that. And that's one thing that I wanted on my team. I just was like, all right, get yourself safe to the line, get yourself safe back from the line, have good etiquette on the field. And if you need to work on something like recall, you should be able to call your dog back to you after the game is over. You shouldn't have to run around the field chasing your dog because they want to keep playing and it's time to go back to the car.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a very interesting sport. I definitely see Ravens obedience just tank, because again, like when they're on the line, when we're playing, there's zero obedience. The dog just needs to out. And it's not she out. She throws the Frisbee back at me around the 10-yard line. She's like, come on.
Yeah,
let's go.
She's psychotic.
Yes, she is psychotic.
She's psychotic.
And then like I get it back and there's like clumps of grass on it and like spit and everything. And I wear gloves. So I'm like cleaning it off.
That's another thing with I've never seen people have to wipe a Frisbee 20 times before they toss it again. And then the timer is going and they're over there and they're just Windexing the Frisbee. I'm like, guys, where do we draw the line with the wiping? Try to get more throws in. And they're just looking around. They're like, good job. And they're just wiping the Frisbee. Throw it.
I know, but if you have a dog like Raven, if you're throwing far, if you're just throwing 10 yards, it can have grass and spit on it. It's no big deal. But if you're throwing far, you have to get that stuff off because the disc isn't going to fly right.
Mm-hmm.
It won't. Trust me.
So many Frisbees have come through this house. Oh, this one's thicker. This one flies better. This one gets more air. This is thinner. This one's made of Teflon. I'm like, okay.
Well, they're basically disposable, some of them.
Yeah, some of them are junk.
Some of them are like the really long distance ones. Like if you have a hard biting dog and you need to throw the disc out far, they're going to catch it once. That's it. Throw it in the trash. $5.
Buddha caught a Frisbee and the teeth went right through the Frisbee.
I know, and it was like the heavy dutiest one that we had.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, those ones are expensive.
I know.
And he can break the sides of it when he catches them.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's crazy.
Because they don't have Rottweilers playing Frisbee. I did it so you can have a team.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I'm glad you do. I'm a real prize.
All right. Well, we appreciate your listening ear on this Friday. If you're listening to the podcast, it's not Friday and it's in the distant future. We thank you for listening in the distant future. Once again, if you're interested in what you've heard on this show or on any of our previous episodes, please like, subscribe, and share to the podcast. And we will see yous next time.
Ta-ta.